Lots of news in the Philippines today, so we're going to go over some of it, update on a number of things, and going to cover this chicken vendor was shot dead in Cebu City, just a couple blocks from where I live, actually. The other day, we're going to update the condominiums that had their power cut off. A little bit about illegal fencing, about fire that took out 50 houses, customs and yeah, custom catching a bunch of stuff, a banca, a boat that sank in, and a couple of other news stories as well. So here we go. Chicken vendor shot dead in Cebu City. And I walk that street often, just a couple blocks from me. I asked the security guard what happened, and he said, "I don't know. Maybe a love triangle." So nobody seems to know yet. Fried chicken vendor was shot dead by an unidentified suspect along F. Ramos Street in Santa Cruz, Cebu City, 11:50 a.m., about noon. He was shot while selling fried chicken. According to a fellow vendor, the suspect, riding a red Honda Beat motorcycle, approached him and inquired about the price of the chicken. After receiving an answer, the suspect suddenly shot Dongog once before fleeing on the waiting motorcycle. Apparently, two different people. A counselor described Dongog as a kind and well-liked individual, saying that he had never been involved in any conflict. And I've made a statement several times in the past that crime here in the Philippines, very seldom do tourists or foreign expats need to be worried about that, other than the pickpockets out there that can try to snatch things from you. And I had one person, a couple people over the last couple months anyway, say, "Oh, prove it, prove it. Do you have data?" Well, no, you can't prove a negative. You got to come up with data that shows a lot of foreigners being involved in crime, the victims of crime. I'll do another video about that. I've been collecting news stories and headlines, and 99.5% of the time or more, it's drug related, it's jealousy related, it's grudge related, it's tribal related, clan and tribal, land related, election related, political, a number of different things. But it is Filipino on Filipino. And so often it's two guys right up on a motorbike and shoot the person. And there are groups that are paid assassins here in the Philippines. So another reason why you don't want to piss people off, I guess. Next story, and this is from the Sun Star as well. Condo power cut off, residents angered. This is an update to a story I did a few days ago. Three condos owned by land traders. Power was shut off without any notice, apparently. And anyway, here, water seepage, according to occupants, San Marino Residences, which is right down by SM Mall, about a long block from SM Mall, Cebu City, when the unfinished road deck floods during heavy downpour, water seeps through the elevators. Not good. Not good. Some units at San Marino Residences in Mabolo, Cebu City, were without electricity again Friday night, February 24th. This originally occurred, I think, on the 19th, I believe, when three different buildings were shut off because a few people had not paid their electric, despite some of them having paid their condo dues in advance. Nunez, a spokesperson for the unit owners, told Sunstar March 1 that at least four personnel, allegedly from Land Traders World Properties Corp., disconnected the power to the upper floors of the building. She said that unauthorized individuals arrived unannounced and disconnected electricity to the 18th to 21st floors Friday afternoon, but unit owners intervened before they could cut other lines. Nunez, along with several other unit owners, said that they had already paid their electric bills, leaving them affected by delinquent payers. And apparently, the building has one major, Visay Electric is electric company, one main meter coming into the building that Visay Electric reads off of, and then the units, uh, the development company has sub meters off of that are not read by Visay Electric. They just read the main meter going into the building. Apparently, most of the people are paying their electric bill, but another company, which is a property management company owned by land traders or associated with it, has not been paying Visay Electric, and that's creating the big problem. During the interview, several unit owners expressed concerns about the building's security and the possibility that same individuals would cut the electricity again in the coming days. Land traders reportedly has the keys to the room that houses the power system, fueling concerns of a potential power short circuit and increasing uncertainty among residents. Several unit owners filed a police blotter in Mabolo, a complaint. One unit owner pointed out that management used to give prior notice before disconnecting electricity for unsettled utilities, but no similar notice was given. I've been in Cebu City for a little over 9 years, and in 2016 or 17, I did a video in here, went and videoed a unit along with an owner, put it up on my YouTube channel, and to me it looked like it wasn't very well maintained. It looked like in the common areas, it looked like there was mold on the ceiling and the walls. And I've had a couple subscribers tell me they owned units there. This was a couple of years ago, and yes, indeed, the maintenance was not very good. Anyway, they cut it off. They didn't even inform the unit owners. They didn't even post at least that they were going to cut it off. At least they should say, we will cut off electricity. Please settle your bills in the office to prevent disconnection. And not even in the elevator, nothing posted. And you'll find that in our building. Oftentimes there are notices in the elevator that there's going to be maintenance here, there's going to be spraying for bugs and pests on a certain night. When asked for the identities of those individuals, Nunez said the individuals refused to answer, calling themselves a third party, causing confusion over which management group was involved. However, the unit owners have asserted that one of the individuals involved in the electricity cutoff is connected to the developer. And land traders, they own, or part of the group of companies, they own a management company who is down here. The unit owners engaged Vertical World Property Management Corporation, which is part of the land traders World Properties group. It's one of the subsidiaries or something. I'm not sure the legal term there. But so they're paying into a group. They're all part of the same group of management anyway, ownership and management. And up here they say they are not involved in day-to-day operations, that meaning land traders. But now what happened? They're the ones who cut off power. What right do you have? You say you have no control. How were you able to control one of the essential basic necessities in the building? There's some other issues as well. Apparently, security people have not been paid, so they walked off the job. Some other maintenance people have walked off the job for not being paid. Garbage is piling up, apparently. Nunez pointed out that the GIS document showed the members of the Condominium Corporation or Board of Trustees do not reside in the condo building. According to the law, she said unit owners should compose the board. And I've heard that several times over the years. Foreigners who own units have told me that in different condominium projects that they really have no control. The corporation controls the board with their own elected officials, and the actual owners have very little to say on what goes on. The same document also wrote that an actual meeting with the board members took place on November 3rd, but no such meeting occurred, leaving the unit owners who had never met the board surprised. Sunstar reported that the power outage affected 970 units at San Marino residences, Royal Garden residences, and the Corinthian residences due to the developer's unpaid bills to Visayan Electric. In the follow-up interview, Nunez disclosed that she was in constant communication with Vertical's property manager, who became unresponsive after the power outage incident. She also said that after two power cutoffs, one on January 30th and another on February 21st, she took the initiative to contact Visayan Electric. That was how she discovered the utility firm was owed millions in unpaid bills. Unit owners also alleged that management often overcharged them for electricity and on occasion billed them even when the utilities were not in use. Now, I've heard this also, people who living overseas or not living in the units and all the electric is turned off, but they still get an electric bill because part of your electric bill covers the common areas as well in condominiums. So there is some electricity being generated. Supposedly that's supposed to be covered by your condo dues, not a separate electric bill. But even in the condo I've lived in 3 years now, they raised our electric rate. I think Visaya's electric rate, it has been, I've lived in 6 condos in the 9+ years, and the rate has always been about 13 pesos per kilowatt hour. Place I'm in now, they raised the rate to 15 pesos per kilowatt hour, and then they raised it to 18 pesos per kilowatt hour, and that adds up. A realtor told me they can't do that. Well, they did do that about a year ago, and about the same time they hired a different management company, Colliers, and I think they did that to help pay the management company. They also raised the condo dues from 70 pesos per square meter to 100 pesos per square meter, which is really quite large for a building like this. We've got a small gym that's been there for about a year now. We didn't used to have a gym. There's no pool. There's no roof deck. There are no other special amenities. So yeah, in my opinion, it's overcharging, but they can do what they can do. At least 10 personnel have not been paid since January, said one worker. So for 2 months, delays were previously limited to a day, but starting in October, their salaries were delayed up to 15 days. Unit owners said that many of the building's personnel have quit because of unpaid salaries, which affected the building's sanitation and maintenance, resulting in improper waste disposal and the presence of rats. The next story, ex-vice mayor and siblings nabbed for illegal fencing in Minglanilla. Minglanilla is a town just south of Cebu City. You have Talisay, Cebu City, then Talisay, and then Minglanilla. It's pretty much all part of the metropolitan area. Anyway, when I first read that, fencing is the term that describes people selling stolen property, that type of thing. Here, it literally means fencing. They built a fence, apparently. They were building a fence, and it blocked the path of residents in another area. So people were using that pathway, whatever, and he put up unlawfully fenced the land in. And that can happen. Be careful when you're buying or renting land, because I've heard that a number of times, is that your path in is through somebody else's property, and maybe it goes along just fine for a while, but at some point in time the person decides to close it off, and you don't have access to your landlocked property there. Boy, you hate to see this type of thing. Candle causes fire in Lahug, which is up by IT Park, one of the poor areas there. Leaves 200 homeless, 50 homes, And yeah, they burn so fast once the fire starts. There's almost no stopping it. You know, the fire departments get in there if they can get close. Sometimes it's very difficult for them to get close with very narrow roads, and they don't want to be surrounded by the fire, so they've got to be careful how they come in, approaching an area. And you got a block wall here, got a block wall here, some blocks here. You got a lot of corrugated metal panels, roof panels, block wall here, but the rest of it's all pretty much wood. And once something catches, it's going to go up, and then the rebuilding has to start. It's amazing, time after time after time that I read about these types of things, that rarely does anybody die in these. Very rarely. One happened like a few years ago just below my condominium, and I think 6 people died in that. But yeah, they get out fast with what little they can grab. And some of the comments, we plan to go back and live there, but we really depend upon financial assistance. Someone assured us help might come this afternoon, so we're just waiting. We have nothing left, no money at all. We're back to zero. Another person, a senior citizen, tearfully recounted her loss, saying her family failed to save any valuables but a few of their clothes. Our house and everything in it burned down. We weren't able to take anything. Nothing. Everything was completely damaged. We weren't able to save even a single grain of rice. Even our cell phones got burned. Everything was destroyed, especially since our house was made of light materials. An unattended lit candle in a home without electricity due to a cut power line ignited the blaze, according to the information officer from the fire department. More youngsters found drinking in bars. Yeah, can you believe that? The drinking age here is 21 years old, and many, that's not unusual. I'm a senior citizen, and I was not involved in parties in high school. But later after I was divorced for a few years, I went back and ended up dating a girl from high school, and she was involved in that clique, that clique that I wasn't involved in. And she told me she used to drink a 12-pack of beer by herself with everybody else drinking on weekends when we were in 11th and 12th grade. I knew nothing. I was absolutely out of touch, and I don't think I would have wanted to, or whatever. The couple of friends that I had, I don't think they drank. I used to go to the markets and supermarkets and do videos when I did cost of living, and I would let everybody know what the cost of various things were. I don't do that, especially with fruits and vegetables anymore, because they can change rapidly. A number of months ago, they were giving away cabbage, big oversupply of cabbage, just either dumping it or giving it away. Now the prices back up. Onions go up and down, and they were talking about shipping some in, but there's a little bit of a disagreement on whether they should import onions or not, and apparently due to the weather. There's another look at that area that was burned, and you see it's just a very poor area, poor materials, and yeah, once it starts, it just goes through it all. You got some concrete walls, various places. Sometimes it's wood, and like up here, it's all wood. The second level. So yeah, once it starts, it just goes. Father and son arrested in a buy bust. A lot of that. I was told by a policeman years ago that most of our arrests are done by undercover agents, and you read this kind of headline every day for in many of the different areas, different regions, people getting trapped in these buy bust type things. 19-year-old woman partner arrested in Cebu buy bust. This is an interesting article. Probe on Ukai Ukai ongoing. And look at all these bales. That's used clothing. Used clothing. And boy, you walk around all over the various cities and regions and provinces of the Philippines. There are dozens and dozens and hundreds of shops selling used clothing. And I didn't. We'll get into the article a little bit, but they raided this place because they've got just huge number of just less than a million pesos worth of clothing. 228 bales in imported used clothing, commonly known as ukay ukay, worth 752,000 in a raid in Cebu City. The raid stemmed from intelligence reports and a test buy operation that confirmed the sale of imported used clothing from South Korea under the business name GZRTW Trading. And the ready-to-wear dealer priced each 30 kilo bale at 3,300 pesos. Now, when I was selling material handling company in Phoenix, Arizona, one of the things we sold were conveyors. Conveyors and pallet rack and shelving and that type of thing, among many other items. And I come across a warehouse that was full of used clothing. I think they were getting it from Goodwill and other places like that brought in had charitable donations of used clothing. After a certain period of time, they couldn't sell it or had too much, and they would give it at a very low price. They would give it to people like this. He would bale it up, and his shipments actually went to Africa. And that's why you see people from the Philippines wearing all these T-shirts with and other clothing with names back in the U.S. Same thing in Africa and other parts of the world, I'm sure. The establishment's occupants failed to present permits for importation. The business was later identified by witnesses as owned by Bu Zeng T. A case for violating Republic Act 4653, which prohibits the commercial importation of used clothing and rags. That's interesting because, like I said, there are thousands and thousands of businesses bringing that stuff in. You go down to the markets, and yeah, they've got bales of that stuff. They're opening them up and hanging them up and trying to sell it during the market hours. So it's interesting exactly what this law states. Maybe they didn't have the proper permit to bring it in. Olivia stressed that the method of unsolicited entry, potentially through containerized shipping, yeah, most certainly, raises concern about other illegal items entering the region. And, even in the U.S., I watch a couple sites about shipping costs and different, and one is what's going on about shipping, something like that, on YouTube. And interesting, even in the U.S., in the United States ports, they are only able to physically inspect a very small percentage of what's coming in. They do have various detectors for uranium, different things, but yeah, no doubt there's a lot of illegal stuff coming in. And this is another story. He recalled the seizure of depleted uranium in Mandaue City in November, as well as the arrest made by the NBI on Thursday of 2 Chinese nationals and 3 Filipinos accused of using international mobile subscriber identity catchers and conducting espionage activities in Metro Manila. And these international mobile subscriber identity catchers, they can set up, and you walk by or you're in the neighborhood, and they can act as a cell tower. They can capture the information out of your phone signal, for instance. As for the uranium, how did it get here? And I did not do a video about that at the time, but yeah, they found depleted uranium, and I suspect they found it because there's some kind of detector along the roads or someplace that or in some police vehicles that went off the Geiger counter type, went off, and they stopped the vehicle and found depleted uranium. As for the uranium, how did it get here? Along with the IMSI catcher that was conducting surveillance at our military camp, I think, together with the armed forces of the Philippines. It is not available in the local market. How did it arrive here? That's what we're investigating. And the last news story today: strong waves sink overloaded banca. Banca boat is a boat with outriggers on it, basically, I think. And it's pretty common for some of these that go just between the islands. 99% of the time, it's just the locals going back and forth and with goods, and they're waiting in these various areas, and they know that the locals come from a small island, and they come over to the bigger island to get supplies, gasoline, water, food, food for their animals, all that type of thing. And just like the buses and the vans here, jeepneys, they will pile in just as many people as they can. A pump boat, which is another name for a banca, with 51 passengers and crew members on board, sank off the coast of Olongo Island, which is just past Mactan Island, Cebu, smaller island. City Disaster Risk and Management Office said they were en route to Olongo Island when it was swept by large waves that led to its sinking. They were already near Barangay Kaoy when they encountered 4 huge waves that filled the boat with water, prompting the passengers to immediately call for help. He added that the motor banca could only accommodate up to 20 passengers and was used for fishing, but they had 50 people on board. Oh my gosh. It happens all over the world. You see these small, medium, and large ferries around the world that are, people are hanging off the sides. They're just so overpacked with people. Not unusual in a storm for those things to go down. First to respond to the incident were fishermen and relatives of the passengers who brought their motorboats. So yeah, fortunately they were relatively close to shore at their home island, Olongo. Among the passengers on board was an elderly and 7 children. And for you tourists out there, he said, island hopping is also deemed unsafe due to the strong northeast monsoon, particularly in the open seas around Olongo Island, Siquijor Island, and Bohol, where winds continue to be intense. Yeah, I closed my windows, my balcony door and my windows a little bit ago. The breeze was pretty good coming through here, so if you have any updates on any of these stories or other important stories, had somebody asked me the other day if I heard about another American or something getting shot, and I hadn't. I read quite a bit of Filipino news every day, usually in the morning and again in the evening. I had not heard that. Like I say, 99.9% of what I hear is all Filipino on Filipino. So if you have any new news, let us know in the comments. Anyway, safe travels to y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.